This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the 606 Media Studios, this is the TCSL podcast with Big Z, episode 218. Hail Maryland. Yeah, it's brought to you by 606 Media, true Chicago sports fans, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Go and get your shirts now. And if you're watching on the Facebook, YouTube, on the X, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button, and remember to give us a 5-star review if you're listening on the audio version of the podcast. Drop some comments on YouTube, shoot us up on the charts. We really appreciate it. Doesn't cost you a thing, and you know what? It helps us out. It really does. And the 606media.com website, it is up, and if you can go straight over there, you can watch all of our previous episodes. You can watch us live there. You can catch up on the latest Intoxicated with Big Z episodes. You can catch up on the latest No Water on the Weekend episodes as well. So we're all one-stop shop there. So again, it's 606media.com to get your podcast fix. And you can also support the show with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Go over there and click on the support button. You can hit the subscribe for as little as 99 cents a month. Again, subscribe for as little as 99 cents a month. So help out your boys with a little change and help the production of this podcast continue to grow. Again, we can love that you supported us so far, and we want that continued support. So thank you in advance. Again, like I said, you can catch up on the latest episodes of Intoxicated with Big Z. There's about 9 episodes there. I'm working on that 10th one. I've been so slammed I haven't been able to get the latest episode up there, but it will be up there very soon. I promise you that. It's just I've been slammed. And then I know that Sean and Steven dropped some new episodes on for the No Water on the Weekend, and you can go and listen to those anytime on any podcast app. So without further ado, we're going to talk about episode 218, Hail Maryland. And in this live episode, we're going to talk about the Bears' loss, 15-18 loss to the Washington Commanders in our 3 and Out segment. The WhiteSox Gm search has got a little bit lighter with some people bowing out. And then, there's San Antonio meetings are coming up pretty soon. And then we have more of the up and down Bulls, and we're not talking about the fast break or how fast they play. It's the wins and losses and the type of wins and losses that they have. So let's start off with our Chicago Bears in our 3 and Out segments. Once I get that button, here we go. 3 and Out. Boom, baby, boom. And it was a lot of bust at the end of this last game. The Chicago Bears came out after a bye and laid a big old goose egg, a disgusting one, a rotten egg, as you want to say, especially with this Halloween season. It was a rotten egg that they dropped. And it looked pretty bad for 3 quarters, really bad. And when you thought they scrambled and they hustled and grinded down to get a win, it gets snatched away from you. They pull the rug away from you by the lack of concentration and the selfishness of a player. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but it's just bad. You go into halftime 9-0. It's after 3 quarters, it's 12-0. If you're looking at the stats, 300 total yards, 111 passing yards, 196 rushing yards, 5.1 per play. Washington with 481 yards, 313 passing yards, 168 rushing yards, 6.7 per play. And I know that's going to be skewed because of the last play of the Hail Mary, but we'll just break all that stuff down a little bit. First downs, 15-23, Washington. Third down efficiency, 2 of 12, 5 of 15. Really bad on third defense for both teams. We were 0 for 1 on fourth down. I believe that was that DJ Moore play where they didn't get to the sticks. Total plays 60-72. Washington. Sacks allowed with square at 2. 7 punts. Now, I remember when we drafted Caleb and then they drafted the punter in the 4th round. Caleb said, "Hey, big guy, you're not going to be punting, so relax." He's been punting a lot lately. So I will. Caleb needs to play better, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But let's continue with the stats. Penalties: 8 for 60, 5 for 30. Bears had the advantage on that. That's not good advantage that we want. Fumbles lost 1. Yeah, that one. If you saw the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Interceptions was 0-0, which is good. Time of possession, they had 5 more minutes at 32. And if we go individual stats, it it looks bad. It looks bad. 10 of 24 for 131, no touchdowns, no interceptions for Caleb Williams. He looks like he couldn't get in rhythm. It looks like the play calling was bad. It looked like he could not handle being at home, maybe. He's from the area and being in that crowd, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what it is that made Caleb so inconsistent. You had 2 weeks to prepare for Washington. So you knew what the defensive game plan was in place, and it looked like they forgot how to use Cole Kmet, even though he played 78 or 78% of the snaps, and you didn't really use him. What I mean, I didn't use 1 for 14. 1 for 14. Gerald Everett 1 for 3. I mean, I just don't understand how this team can not use their safety valve. One of the most dependable players, great hands, can get more yards after the catch, and they are not using him. Dunze 3 for 41, Keenan Allen 2 for 39, DJ Moore 2 for 27. Just unacceptable. It with these numbers, it looks like they had their third string backup quarterback playing for them. Where is the offense, Shane Waldron? You had 2 weeks to put an offensive game plan together, and it looks like you didn't do anything. What were you doing? For 2 weeks, did you just sit down and on the couch with your thumb up your ass? I don't know what you were doing for 2 weeks that you could not muster up a better game plan. The offense was anemic. The offensive line was bad. Caleb barely had any time to throw. He was running for his life, and he was getting popped a lot. And if you want the same result that happened to the last quarterback, we should not mention his name, to happen to this quarterback, you've got to protect him. You got to protect the Ferrari. You've got to put some protection in for him. On defense, and I know we're going to talk about Stevenson. We are. We're going to talk about TJ Edwards, right? On that same play. We'll talk about those 2 players in a bit. But Montez Sweat, 1 sack, 3 tackles, 1 assist. He needs help on the other side. He's getting double teamed. He's definitely getting double teamed. So it looks like the defense was a lot of bend and don't break, and that's why they were only getting field goals. But you're not going to win any games if you're giving up that much yardage, that much time of possession. Let's bring in JC Dynasty Fantasy Football. Looks like he just finished his dinner. And JC, what's up, brother?
How's it going? I saw you were looking kind of lonely, so I was like,
Oh,
I'll cut my dinner short, I guess.
Oh, thanks. You can microwave it. Yeah, so I was just recapping the offense and the lack of creativity from Shane Waldron, and how you had 2 weeks to come up with a game plan, and the offense looked anemic. The game plan for the offensive line looked like they were lost. Looked like they didn't get the plays on the iPad, and they just played roadblocks or something, or Call of Duty on their iPad, because they were not.
It wasn't that at all. Actually, he spent 2 weeks planning up a run game goal line to a offensive lineman. So he spent 2 weeks of, hey, you know what? Our offense has been rolling pretty good for the past couple of weeks. How can I fuck this up? How can I create how can I make a cute play? How can I throw some Raz Passaz in there? So that's my issue with it, is he definitely spent his time doing the wrong stuff.
Yeah, if you didn't watch the game, they were at the goal line, and they gave the ball to the backup center, and he fumbled the ball as soon as Caleb put it in his belly. Um, it made no sense. You've got DeAndre Swift, who is rolling. You've got Roshan Johnson, a monster who only got 2 carries this game. 2 carries. I don't understand how we draft a guy and do not use him. If he backed up BJ Robinson, he has less mileage. He should be fresh, and we don't use him. So I just don't understand. Yes, he did get a touchdown, but
again, you're at the goal line and you decide, let's hand the ball off to the guy who never takes a handoff ever.
it makes no sense. And I know I've listened to all the radio shows and watched all the clips on national TV. We are the laughing stock of the news, of the NFL news right now. Cap and Hoodie had Eberflus, and I watched Cap's recap last night, and then he went off on that, and I'm like, there's no way he's going to be that aggressive. And he was aggressive with Coach Flus. He was professional, but still aggressive and trying to get him the answer to stuff. And when he was asked about that play, he's like, yeah, that's been installed. We've had that. We've practiced that. He's like, but you guys would be singing from a different sheet of music if they would have scored. In no world should we be giving a goal line stance to a backup center who doesn't carry the ball on a regular basis. It's as simple as that. You give it to Roshan.
I know it's one of those, we look back at, the fridge when we gave the ball to him, and it's a story.
We were up like 20 points. We were up 20 points at that point. Yeah, we're doing it for fun. You don't do it when you're down 5 points.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly the point is, what? I also listened to a lot of the criticisms today and a lot of the, this is now 3 losses on the road, to the Colts, then to I forget the other teams that were mentioned, but we have a horrible away record with
Matt Eberflus has not won a Sunday away game. You heard that right. He has not won a Sunday away game. A Sunday one. He's won on Monday, he's won on Thursday, but when it comes to away games on a Sunday, he has not won one.
Listen, I know we were talking about everything and, where do we see the Bears? And, I know Eddie likes to say that I'm a Debbie the Downer and all this crap. But when you sit there and watch the Lions put up 52 points, and then you watch Jordan Love go down with a groin injury, and they're still putting up 30. And then you watch the Vikings go up against who did they play this week on Thursday? And they still put up, they played the Rams. And they still put up like 20 points to the Rams 30. And you're sitting there going, the Bears just lost to a team that's not even as good as the teams in our own division. And it's like, I know like we try to be positive. We're a podcast about Chicago sports, but I'm a realistic person. Like I like to be realistic. You know what? I like to cheer on my Chicago sports teams. I like to be positive. And I've been positive. Caleb has been steadily, increasingly getting better week to week. But this week, the first half, he was overthrowing, underthrowing, throwing behind, throwing. It was everywhere but to the wide receiver. I mean, it was an off day, or so it seemed to me at least, that he was having a rough day. Now, if you sit there and you look at the stats and say, hey, my quarterback's having a rough day, then what is the best option?
Run the damn ball.
Yeah. And thank God Swift broke off the run that he did, which, funny enough, when he broke that off, I was listening to the game because I was at work. But they had the backup left tackle in the rookie, and I'm going to butcher this name. I apologize, but it's Omalaje or something to that effect.
Is it Amagaji?
Amagaji, sorry. He was in a spell of Braxton Jones. We had Tevin Jenkins come in and out twice. We're dealing with issues on the offensive line, but at the end of the day, we were there. we were ahead in the game. Now, I was listening to you a little bit while I was loading the computer up and getting on. I know we don't want to beat a dead horse about the defense, but I'm not even going to beat the dead horse on the defense on the final Hail Mary. I'm going to beat the defense on the play before the Hail Mary,
Exactly.
where they gave up 13 yards to allow Washington to get into position to even throw a Hail Mary. We discuss it about, do you sit back and play conservative, or do you go after somebody?
In that situation, right? They're trying to get into field goal position first to be able to tie the game in case time runs out. They had that one timeout. In that situation, they're running out. They're running 7-10 out, and they're trying to get to the sideline to stop the clock. You leave the middle open. You put a free safety just in the middle, just in case for that. And
Which
you do
Kevin
not
Bauer is a great safety to have.
right. And so you allow the play to stay in front of you.
Mhm.
And they were playing prevent 30 yards back. You don't do that. And they couldn't get to the quarterback. And then you allow them to get those 13 yards. And then he said on the radio, that play didn't matter. Are you insane?
I missed it. Who said that?
Eberflus said that play did not matter.
In that case, if he literally said that, and again, I didn't hear him say this, but if he did say this, and I missed it,
I think I might have
the
the audio.
owners need to have an emergency meeting tonight and replace him as the head coach. Because you know what? To me, if you're saying that play did not matter, that play mattered immensely.
Execute on that last.
I think I got the audio. Let's see if I can play it. Here we go.
This you just don't understand. Like, I think it's a little easier. Dan, maybe I'm wrong. Is it easier to throw the ball 50 yards, 60 yards, or 80 yards?
Yeah.
I don't know unless.
That's a horrible answer.
Listen,
It's just-
I'm going to let Dan answer in a second. Let's just be clear. That's one of the 5 dumbest things I've ever heard a human being say in my entire life in any context. It doesn't even have to be sports. If I own the team and I hear the coach say that after the game, I have serious conversations amongst people about whether he is qualified to be the head coach of a National Football League team. If he says 15 yards didn't matter, those 15 yards cost you the game every bit as much as the Hail Mary play at the very end.
Yeah, the Bears lost the game because of coaching and the way that they coached that final sequence.
Agree with that as well.
That was courtesy of the Get Up on ESPN in the morning. That's Greeny. That's who's the coach for the who's the defensive coach? Is that Rex Ryan? No, not Rex Ryan.
Yes. Yeah, one of the Ryans.
Yeah, Rex Ryan, former defensive coordinator, former coach for the Jets. And there's 2 other former NFL players. Both of them were defense. One of them got out of the scene. He's like, I can't believe someone said that.
Yeah. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing. Like I said, I didn't catch that. I haven't seen a clip of that. But for you to play that, I mean, I would fire the man today for that comment alone. Because again, like they just said, there's a difference between a guy throwing an 80-yard and then they probably have to do a couple laterals.
But he can't throw 80 yards. He has messed up ribs. He can't throw more than 40 yards.
But that's the thing is, if you give up 15 yards and now he's throwing a 50-yard pass, that's a huge deal.
Yeah. And they tipped it back 5 yards.
Yeah. So, like I said, I mean, I'm, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I personally wanted him fired in the offseason, and I really wanted the Bears to kick the tires on Mike Vrabel.
In retrospect, that might have been the move. And for the reason of you would have had everybody on the same timeline, right? You would have brought in a new coach, new offensive coordinator. They both have deals that are, they're multi-years. You're not a lame sitting duck. So not only are you sure about your coaching staff, you have the same timeline for your quarterback, for your wide receivers, for everybody that you just brought in, the turnover, the rebuild, Everyone's on the same page. So there's no confusion of what we are doing. Time and time again, he's mismanaged his challenges, his timeouts, whether to go for one or two, and his team is confused on whether to go one or two. How this falls at his feet, and he's not accountable. He plays word salad like Matt Nagy, and doesn't take accountability for fucking a game up. And I'm sorry, I'm trying not to swear on this show. Sorry for the people that like to listen to it, kids. I'm sorry.
I'll forgive you because I think I let one or two slip earlier. So
yeah, we're trying not to swear because people say we're trying to listen to this at work, but we can't because Ivan swears too much. Sorry to throw Ivan on the bus, but yeah, it's. And I went over to Stevens and I was watching with Steven and Sean the second half. Stayed home for the first half. And I'm watching this and I'm like, who is this team that showed up after a bye week and can't move the ball, can't throw? Komet's nowhere to be seen. And then they finally punched the ball in after the fumble, and they allow so much time. That fade into the corner was the dumbest play as well, because if you just let the time run by running the ball 4 times, you make them use that time out. You make them use that timeout. Now that clock is running. Now you leave them with maybe 10 seconds for a kickoff and to move all the way to the other end zone. It's not going to happen that way. But the Bears find ways to lose these close, winnable games. And it just makes no sense. Tyreek Stevenson. Holy Jesus. Why are you antagonizing? He said he was celebrating with the fans. The clock did not hit 0. Do not celebrate to the clock hit 0.
Which, I mean, again, I don't necessarily blame Stevenson because, I mean, if you go watch the film,
up as well.
But if you go watch the film, he was playing so deep anyway that by the time he realized, oh God, they snapped the ball, he was back in the play anyway.
4.1 seconds after the snap of the ball.
No.
Again, and also that I would not have done that play either. I'm rushing 4 at minimum. At minimum. And Montez Sweat wasn't even out there. Your best player wasn't out there.
You literally play deep and rush. Because like the middle of the field, I don't care. You want to pass 5 yards down the field? I don't care, because now you're lateraling.
Yes.
Now it's your 7 guys against my 8 guys to get you down before you get to the end zone 50 yards away. All right. To me, like you said, the fact that it looked like we were only rushing 2 guys, unacceptable. The fact that, you
had Tremaine Edwards playing spy. Why? Spy on who? We don't care about the middle of the field. Rush the quarterback. He was just there moving side to side, spying. I'm like, why? Wrong time. And this is supposed to be the best defensive coordinator, right? That they made a head coach. He's making bonehead calls.
Like I said, we're going to have, and again, we'll see what our record is at the end of the year, because the bottom line is
9-8.
But if we end up 9-8, are you firing Flus?
They won't. They won't. You should. They won't.
Like, because to me, you then all of a sudden you're turning back the clock. You're doing the same thing you did with Trubisky, where you're starting over with a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, And like I said, do you really want to do that and set the kid back? Which I think Caleb is more than capable of learning a new offense. Which Justin and Mitch,
not so much.
They didn't have that ability. So I will say I think Caleb can do it. I think he's shown that, we got outcoached is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally look at the pressure that Washington brought. It was constant. It was heavy. Caleb was constantly running around in the backfield, trying to move up in the pocket, move out of the pocket, constantly moving, trying to, run for his life. And Jaden's just sitting back there chilling, And don't get me wrong, I know we got to Jaden as well, but it's one of those like, wait, isn't this the team that traded us their best defensive end last year?
Yep.
And here we are, talk of the town, we got our franchise quarterback, we're going to go to the Super Bowl, all this stuff, and we are looking like the same old Bears. To me, like I said, I know the Lions still have their offensive coordinator. He did not leave the team last year. I would bring him in. Head coach, offensive minded, finally for once in the Bears history. And I don't count the guy from Canada. Do not even bring that up. He does not count.
Who you talking about?
Trustman.
Oh, but wasn't Nagy an offensive? He was a quarterback whisperer, wasn't he?
Dude, no. The only thing he whispered was, Peyton, get out there, do your thing, and slap him on the ass. He is not an offensive coordinator.
You mean Mahomes?
No. Nagy also coached with Peyton.
Did he?
I thought with the Broncos.
I thought he was there the whole time.
No, I thought he was with the Broncos. I'm going to look that.
Yeah.
You talk a little bit. I'm going to look it up.
Yeah. So back to the Stevenson problem. He was about 40 yards away from the play. Didn't realize it. And he's over there celebrating, and someone filmed it, which is great because I know his Twitter went viral because of it, because this is the only video out there of him just celebrating. And then there's a picture from the end zone with a bunch of Bears fans and even Washington fans who were pointing at him as he was pointing at them, and they're like, "No, you idiot! The play is going on, and it's coming to you." And he rushes over there, and he's end up being the one that tips it up instead of tipping it down. And we have somebody with a touchdown, and the game is over. Probably one of the most devastating losses in recent Bears history. And there's been a lot of them. We went through the Trestman era. We've been through all those eras after Lovey, and it's been pretty bad. And then he didn't want to talk to the media. And then he posted on social media, and he said, quote, "To Chicago and teammates, my apologies for lack of awareness and focus. The game ain't over till zeros hit the clock. Can't take anything for granted. Notes taken. Improvement will happen. It comes down to the last play, and we practiced that play 100 times." I'm sorry. That was the end of Stevenson's quote. And then Eberflus said after the fact, it comes down to the last play. We practiced that play 100 times since we've been here. We took a look at the execution on that. We have body on body, boxing guys out like basketball. No one boxed out. You had 4 guys jumping out at the same ball, and they kind of all pushed each other out of the way. They have one guy at the rim, and the guy knocks it down. They had a tip that goes behind the pile. In that play, you do not allow anybody to get behind you. I don't know who,
especially because you could tell that pass was coming in short.
Yeah.
But,
and why isn't there any wide receivers out there on that play? It's been done. It's been done.
Oh, yeah. The Lions used to throw Calvin Johnson out there on that kind of stuff all the time. But with the Bears, it's like, who would you? I would throw Kmet maybe.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know that I would throw DJ or Keenan.
No, you go ahead, throw Kmet out there. He's got great hands, and he's got.
You want a taller guy. You want a 6'6" guy out there, not 6 foot. Yeah. But I looked it up. You are correct. The coach I was thinking of was Gase. Was with Peyton.
Yeah.
So that's the whole story in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows you the type of discipline that is not happening with this team, and that club dub stuff, or the reopening of it, and everything that we saw in Hard Knocks, and everybody's a big family and loves each other. I think that's all BS, man. If you have someone that is undisciplined, and no one on the sideline is taking accountability by saying, "Oh, we didn't see him. We couldn't see him." You can see everybody when you're on the sideline. I'm sorry. You can see everybody, especially if you're a defensive coach. You should be watching your defense.
Yeah, the bottom line to me is, it's all coaching.
Yes.
I don't necessarily put it, yes, Stevenson messed up, but in the end all be all, he was in the play. He's the one that tipped the ball. So even though, yes, he was distracted, he was messing with the crowd, whatever, he was in the play as the play happened. The bottom line is, if he was really in charge of being the back guy or the front guy, because again, in a Hail Mary, you have 4 guys that should go after the ball. You should have 1 guy standing in front of the pile, 1 guy behind the pile for those tips.
Yeah. You have 4 guys boxing out and 1 in the front, 1 in the back to catch the ball or to make sure no one else catches it.
Or to deflect it away again.
Mhm.
And so again, if Stevenson's job really was to box out Noah Brown and he decided to go up and tip the ball when there were 4 other guys that was their job to do, then that's a mental mistake for Stevenson. But again, I don't put it on him because they should have never been in position to throw that Hail Mary, because we should have never allowed them to make a 15-yard pass on the play.
Again, it's on Waldron. It's on Waldron first for not running the ball 4 times and wasting more time. And then you have
imagine we did not fumble the ball on the goal line.
Waldron.
And we actually scored there. This wouldn't be a non-topic.
Yeah. Waldron Eberflus should have been, no, X that out. We're not doing that. Throw Roshan in there.
Because the bottom line is, had we scored on that previous goal line, then we probably would have kicked a field goal, and like we're talking a different game.
Yeah.
So or we would have been up by 2 touchdowns, and this would be a non-factor. But again, we're getting.
I mean, we would be talking about 3 quarters of lack of offense. That's what we would be talking about. And every game we have started behind the ball. We have not scored points in the first quarter to like take the lead. We've always been behind or tied in the first quarter this year. And that's a problem.
Yep.
Especially with their first series. It's always 3-0. Like, come on. Script some plays that he'll know the whole week inside and out. And all right, cool, let's go. Yes, you give him the RPO option, but you've got to have some scripted plays for this guy.
It's not even that. Not even forget the scripted. How about we just give a 5-yard slant? Like can like that's one of the easiest pass plays in all of the NFL.
Throw it to Komet. Throw it to Komet in the middle. The whole middle of the entire game. The middle was wide open. Just pass the ball right to the middle. Go ahead.
I think part of the problem is that there was a good pass rush going, and again, I don't know that Komet was being used as a pass catcher more than a pass blocker. So I listened to the game, so I didn't visually get to see what Komet's doing play to play.
So you got to hear Jeff Joniak die on the air. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, it was.
That was bad. That was bad.
It was just a very what just happened.
Yeah.
Like it was. Yeah. Like I said, your highest of highs. We're 30 seconds away from taking this game home, and in 30 seconds you let a team score. And not like it was like, hey, there was a breakdown on a 15-yard pass and they took it to the house. No, this was a 60-yard bomb that is, realistically, a Hail Mary is a 50-50 ball.
Yep.
And most of the time, it doesn't get completed. Like, it's very seldom.
I think they had the Bears had like a 98 point something percentage of winning the game.
Yeah. Like I said, it's crazy. It is what it is. Like I said, we could beat a dead horse till, it goes to the glue factory. But like I said, we're
that's a good one.
You know what I mean? Like, there's only so much we could talk about, like how bad this is. Like I said, for me, like we could start talking, coaching. The Bears would be one of the best places for any of these candidates to come to. Caleb is a stud. We have DJ locked up long term. We got Odunze. The only thing you got to fix is the offensive line, and the defense is, in decent shape. I sent you in the group text that, there's a defensive tackle out of Tennessee. I think his name was Pay, or I forget what I sent you, but he was due like $4 million as like a free agent. He signed a 1-year deal in Tennessee. So if that was somebody we could trade for, like I think a lot of our issues also, like we're allowing teams to rush on us.
Yep.
Pretty good. Last year we were top 5 in rush defense. This year we're allowing like 120 to 150 rushing, pretty much every game. So
yeah,
we need to get another big boy next to Dexter, and
yeah, at some point this defense is not going to be able to hold this game with under 20 points, and the offense is going to have to step up. If we're looking at the Chicago Bears injury report, we still have Brisker and Gordon out. Brisker with a concussion, Gordon with the hamstring. We got Larry Borum ankle. Travis Homer has a finger issue. Zach Pickens groin. Terrell Smith has a hip. Tariq Stevenson calf. Yeah, I doubt that one. Scott Daly knee. Jacob Martin a toe, and Mercedes Lewis was a DNP. Didn't I could have sworn one of the was it Larry Borum that came out of the game late?
No, Tevin Jenkins came out.
Yeah, he's not listed on here, so I don't know what the issue is going to be with Tevin Jenkins.
If I remember from what they were saying on the radio, like he was holding his hand or flexing his hand when he came out late. So maybe he might have got hit with a helmet or on the hand or something, and got a stinger. Because sometimes when you hit your hand or your elbow, your arm goes numb, or something happens where it just bugs you, so like you come out of the game. But he got rolled up on as well, Jenkins. So that the back thing might have been the second time he came out, because he got bent backwards.
Yeah, that was
again. I didn't see it, but I mean the way they were describing it on the radio was like, oh, and he has a history of back issues. So we'll see, but Larry Borum, I think that's part of the reason why we cut Velus Jones and did the 2 moves earlier in the week, was to start making room for Larry Borum, who's going to be coming back, which, good thing he's coming back, because if Braxton Jones is out,
Yep.
we're going to need a swing tackle, and,
and then at this point, you've got to bring Nate Davis back into the fold.
I don't think they will.
You've got
at this point, they're going to run with Murray. They're going to run with whoever else they got. I think Nate Davis is officially done with the Bears. And we were talking. There's a couple offensive linemen that could be available. I don't know if that they will. But there's some guys. I think his name is Little. I forget if he's in Tennessee or Cleveland. And then there's like 1 or 2 other guys. Like they're on expiring contracts.
Okay.
So they'll be free agents in the offseason. But like I said, I mean, if you can trade a Nate Davis and a Khalil Herbert and maybe get Little back in exchange.
Why not? What's the deal with Khalil Herbert? Why isn't he getting playing time? Did he just fall out of favor with Shane Waldron?
That would be my guess.
Really he's really good.
Well, here's the thing: you have Swift, who's way more explosive. He's way faster, better catcher in my opinion. And then you turn around and you go, okay, we tried the first game or two when Roshan was hurt to use Herbert as kind of the bigger back sledgehammer, and he wasn't willing to drop the shoulder and lay the wood to get the extra yards. He wanted to run more like an upright, style running back, where he got tripped up after 2-3 yards, and you know, he was being productive, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like when you have a type A running back, you want a type B to complement. So Roshan being a 215-pound back, 220-pound back, that'll lower the shoulder and get the tough yardage, where Swift is the I'm going to outrun you or, cut and get around
Yeah,
you.
he's a finesse runner. He is definitely the finesse runner that can outrun you. He can outjuke you. But I mean, game one, Khalil Herbert only had 2 touches, 2 carries for 4 yards. That Travis
Yeah,
Homer had
Homer
2
was
for
hitting more.
10. Velus
Yeah.
Jones had 2 for 11. Caleb did well, 5 for 15, and DJ Moore 1 for 14. He wasn't used much. And then if I go to game 2, see with the Texans, come on, internet, stop interneting. With the Texans, if I pull up those stats, player stats, he had 2 for 3.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't used, so it's like we don't know what his production could be because last year he was very productive for us with the same problem with the offensive line.
Is, when you pay a guy like Swift $8 to $10 million a year, you're going to give him first shot.
And that's understandable. And I want Swift to have first shot. I want Swift to have 20 carries and give Herbert 10. He should at least be getting 10. Or if you use the other running back with 10, because yes, Roshan Johnson's there too as
the
well.
other thing is, in my opinion, Roshan Johnson is a great pass blocking back. Like he's willing to take on those pass blocking duties where Herbert was like he
Which
could get
is
it
fine,
done,
which is fine. But we're not using him or Komet.
Yeah.
On the offensive side.
I really think Herbert is the third guy on the depth chart, as it sits right now. And there's other teams that want him. There's rumor that the Cincinnati Bengals, that the Cowboys, and I think there were 2 other teams that were mentioned that might be interested in getting Herbert. Which, if I'm the Cowboys, I would gladly reach out and take Herbert. Because, I mean, who do you have there other than Dusty Ezekiel Elliott that isn't doing anything for you?
Yeah, but
they have no semblance of a run game.
My concern would be if one of these guys gets hurt, then who takes up the third running back? Who steps up, right?
It would be Homer. It would be Homer. But that's the other thing is, you risk this year, you risk injury this year, but at the same time, next year, like I look at it more, what pick can we get for Herbert realistically, a third or a fourth? Okay, you go look at next year. There are 10 running backs coming out this offseason that you can gladly pick up in the third or fourth round.
Yeah, running backs at time a dozen.
That would easily replace Herbert.
Yeah.
And to me, it's one of those, if I can pick up or use Herbert to get an offensive lineman and or get a pick to grab his replacement in the offseason, I'm good with that. Because you still got Swift, you still got Roshan, you still got Homer, who has a history with our offensive coordinator in Seattle. So it's one of those, I would move on, because especially we're not going to re-sign Herbert in the offseason.
No.
Like he's going to go look for something else. He's going to look to get paid. We're not going to pay him because we already paid Swift. So it's one of those, we're going to be looking for a rookie contract or a, cheaper option with more of a skill set to match Swift. So like I said, to me, it's a no-brainer to move on from him and get the compensation that we can get for him today and run away with it.
Yeah, I mean, again, if we can get a good compensation package while we still can, do it. Because you know what happened? Because there was talks that Velus Jones was highly pursued and they could have traded him in training camp. And what did you end up doing? Just letting him go for nothing. Just because he was one of your draft projects. He's got to stop doing that.
I don't believe for a second that he was highly pursued. I can imagine the Bears are putting it out there that he's highly pursued, hoping they can stir up some business. But the fact of the matter is he was not highly pursued. Because we discussed earlier in the season when we were kind of having that rough first and second game, and all of a sudden it was, do we trade Keenan Allen for a second? And it's like, and I said, well, we're probably not going to pay him in the offseason.
Right.
Like, and we kind of all agreed, like, yeah, we would take a second for him. So it's like, why wouldn't I take a third or a fourth for Herbert? For a guy who's third on the depth chart
And
but
not
could
playing.
be useful to another team.
And he's not playing.
Like I said, you got Cincinnati, who was it? I forget who the running back is there now because Mixon moved on. But like, there's plenty of teams. I mean, even Minnesota with Aaron Jones constantly being hurt. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of teams that need running backs, and we have a guy that's shown he can put up 4.3 yards a carry, that he can kind of catch a ball. He's not the best, but is he a good option to a Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, who's, constantly nagging injuries because he's 32, 33? Yeah, I think he could be useful to another team. So to me, if we can get, like I said, if I could get a fourth round for him, I would do it.
All right. Looking ahead, the Chicago Bears play the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday. It is a late game again, 3:05 start time. I think this is one of those trap games. I think this is going to be one of those games that's going to be exciting because you have two quarterbacks that can scramble and make plays with their legs and arms. Who do you see coming up on top with the Bears and Cardinals?
At this point, I have no idea anymore. I want to say Bears. I do, because, I mean, you look, the Cardinals.
It's in Arizona too.
Yeah, they struggle at times, and then other times it's like they look amazing. So it's one of those, like, I never know what to make of the Cardinals from game to game, because they'll go against great teams and look horrible. They go against bad teams and look horrible. Then they go against another good team. They look fantastic. And it's like, the Cardinals are so inconsistent to me. And it's one of those, like, I don't know what to make.
Yeah, I mean, they got blown out. The
only consistent piece on the Arizona Cardinals is Trey McBride, as a tight end. He's the only guy on the team that consistently week in, week out is of value.
Don't they have the wide receiver?
They have Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison,
yeah.
But again, like, he'll have 7 catches one game, and the next game he'll have 2.
Yeah.
So it's just a weird, like I said, it's inconsistent week to week, like, what they're doing.
Yeah, maybe Kyler Murray's playing too much Call of Duty on some nights, because he blew out the Rams 41-10, and then they lost to the Lions only 20-13, a close game. They get blown out by the Commanders 42-14. Then they beat the 49ers by 1 point. They get blown out 34-13 by the Packers. Win a close game against the Chargers. Close game 20-27 against the Dolphins in Miami. So, like you're saying, they are up and down.
That's a Dolphins team that didn't have Tua.
Oh, Tua started. Tua played.
Oh, was it an early game in the season?
Yeah, no, this is the last game. Tua got hurt earlier.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tua was back. Tua was 28 for 38, 234, 1 touchdown.
Yeah. So like I said, I mean, it's, you just said it. I mean, it's like a weird, they're putting up 30 points one week and 14 the next.
Yeah, he threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. So the Bears are going to be in for it, especially with all those injuries to the secondary. We don't know if Kyler Gordon is coming back, and how Stevenson, his calf or whatever.
I mean, I would hope that these guys are coming back. I mean, they've been out for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
If you're still having concussion symptoms after 2 weeks, that's not boding well. And I know that was a huge hit that he laid on I forget the tight end. Not
Nope.
Troutman.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. What up, Izzy? Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I think Arizona comes up on top. I don't see the Bears bend and not break type of defense doing well with someone with such an aerial arsenal. But they're throwing 300 yards. Yeah, they might keep them to 200, 220, 225. But I mean, if they couldn't get to Jaden Daniels, you think they're going to get to Kyler Murray, who's way more elusive and is more healthy?
Not even that. Arizona has a much better offensive line.
100%.
They actually used their picks to pick up was a Christian Darrisaw and a bunch of other linemen recently in the draft.
Yeah.
And we're talking first round picks, not Larry, Braxton Jones in the 5th. So, the quality of, talent, and nothing against Braxton Jones. He's done great for us, but like I said, we've had the opportunities to draft offensive linemen in the first rounds. And I go back to the offseason where I brought up the point of you had Keenan Allen on the books, you had DJ Moore on the books, then you pick Rome Odunze rather than taking the second best tackle or, the second best or even the first best, trading back and getting a center. Rome was a luxury pick that I think we could have used to shore up a position of need.
Do you
And
think?
that's how I'll frame it.
I think that he was looking more down the line where I can get Roma Dudze, who's going to replace Keenan Allen as the number 2.
Yeah.
And then next year with the extra pick, which is this year coming up, the extra second round pick, our first round pick, our second round pick, I can address the offensive line with those 3 picks.
Yep. But that's why I phrased it as he was a luxury pick over a position of need.
Yeah.
Because it's great. We have Rome that, our wide receivers, especially because wide receivers are super expensive nowadays.
Yes, they are.
But the problem still remains that we took a pick of luxury over a player that we had to fix a position. And that's where I'll leave it. It's one of those, I'm not going to complain about it too much. I know Rome has not had, in my opinion, I would hope that he would have come out playing a lot better. Which, I mean, you still have DJ ahead of him. You have Komet. There's so many options in our offense.
Yeah.
And only so many balls to go around. But you would hope that like even 4 to 5 catches a game, 60 yards a game, that, there would be a little more production there for Rome, considering how much we spent to get him. So like I said, we're going to go into this off season. Like I said, I think we're going to be looking, we need a little more trenches is what we need.
Completely agree with you. What up, Izzy? You got Israel Wars Khalil Herbert. Well, you missed the first part of the show where we talked about him. He was a DMP. Bears 2 more years before they're a playoff contender. Actually, I think they can still make the playoffs if they play up to their capabilities. But if they end up 9-7, do not expect them to be in the playoffs, and we'll be in the same boat with the same coach next year. Let's see what happened. I have no idea what happened to Lamar Jackson because I did not watch football after the Bears games. Yeah. All right. So let's you said you went to Cardinals, right?
Yeah. Let me. It's just at this point I can't make heads or tails of our our coaching staff. So yeah, give me the Cardinals.
You got the Cardinals. I also got the Cardinals. I think I got the Cardinals 28-18 Bears. So it's gonna be a rough this Sunday, in my opinion. We don't know which Bears team is going to show up, and we don't know if the Bears team is going to be healthy. And that's
I mean, I will say this. I mean, considering if you go look at the box scores of the Commanders, I mean, they've been rolling teams 30 points.
Oh yeah.
Points.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, the fact that we held them to, what was it, four field goals?
Yeah, the 12 points essentially.
I mean,
12 points.
That's, you got to give the defense credit for that. I mean, you got to. But like I said, to me, it comes down to the end of the game where it is blatant coaching mistakes that cost us the game.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to wrap around the loop with our basketball and little news on the White Sox. So we'll wrap up the show with those two teams. So we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Once I can get this button ready going. I don't know what's going on here. There we go. Once I hit the button, let's go. Come on. Where's my button? There we go.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride, so do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15.
For 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
What up? It's Martin Moreno, and you are listening to True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast.
Welcome back to TCSF Podcast with Big Z in the house. We got JC, Dynasty Fantasy Football, and it's time to talk about our basketball team, or the lack of up and down of the basketball team, the Chicago Bulls. Right now, they're not looking too good. I think if I pull them up, let's see what they're doing right now. They're down in Memphis, 76-67. I don't understand this team, and I know we got some players on there. Lonzo Ball's coming off the bench. Giddy's getting acclimated to having these teams, and then you have the wild card, which is Zach LaVine. Is he going to be engaged at all or not? I feel like we have the repetitive players over and over on this team, and they cannot gel. They won against the Bucks convincingly, and then they get 20 piece by the Thunder with Alex Caruso. He was, we know what kind of defender he is, so he was giving us havoc. And now they're playing the Grizzlies, who have a decent team, but the Bulls have way more talent. It's really you're buying your time with this team, so don't get fully invested. Zach's going to be traded. Vooch is going to be traded. Ball is going to be traded, and we're going to start another rebuild. We are the city of rebuilds. And if you've ever been on 290, 994, it's a non-constant thing, just continuously under construction. So while it's exciting that the Bulls are starting their season, and because we all love basketball and we love our Bulls, some people can't even watch. They can't even watch. I think it's on Tubi or something now. It's not on Comcast. It's not. I think it's on DirecTV, and it's on over there. I can get the over the air feed. Or if you're like JC, who has the Magic Box and can watch anything he wants, and if you're in that circle, great for you that you can watch anything that you want. But a lot of people are complaining that it's not on Comcast yet, and I just don't understand what was the need of closing NBC Sports to open a whole new station, and then they don't have the capability of being on the biggest network in the Chicagoland area. So. You have any thoughts on the Bulls not being able to be seen, JC?
Greed of the owners is all it is. Basically, it's like anything else. How many streaming services do I have to pay for to watch a show? Or watch a sports team? There was a funny internet story about that an NFL player posted a screenshot of him watching the team he plays for, like he was home hurt or whatever, but he had posted like he was watching his team through an illegal streaming site rather than paying for the cable to watch his team, because they were basically like out of market.
Yeah.
So they were playing like a different game in his market than his own home team. Like you said, sometimes you turn on the TV, the Packers are on rather, or vice versa, but it was hilarious because I was sitting there like, good, like it's not going to change unless people legit say we're not going to pay it anymore. Like as long as people are willing to pay for it, guess what? They're going to keep raising the prices. They're going to keep selling it to Amazon. They're going to sell games to Hulu. They're going to sell games to Peacock. They're going to sell games to all these people. And guess what? They're going to charge you for 7 different streaming sites.
Yeah.
And either you consume it or you let the tankings, I wanted to say rankings, but I know it's not rankings. It's ratings. There we go. Until the ratings drop and they say, oh my God, we're losing viewership. We're losing sales on ads. We're losing all this stuff. It's going to continue.
I agree with you. It's to complete greed. If you were on WGN for all these years, and it wasn't a lot of games on WGN, they had, most of it was on, Comcast Sportsnet or NBC Sports or whatever it might have been at that time, right? But there was I would say like 10 or 15 games that were on WGN. And it was fun to watch it on free TV, especially if you didn't have cable, right? And that's how you grow the sport, by making it available for everyone. And I get it. They're on 62.2. And I get it over the air on one of the TVs. I have to make a little bit of adjustment with my big screen, where I have to like pull the antenna, the big flat floppy thing, more towards the window, and it'll work, right?
Yeah.
I just can't sit in certain parts of the house or else I'll disrupt it. But they have pretty good programming so far. I do like some of the staff that they've either kept or hired. In the morning they have 670 to score live. They have the YouTube feed on there. I think that's great. But again, the millennials, they don't know nothing about antennas. They're having such a hard time with like, what do you mean it's over there? It's free. I don't have to pay for it. Well, how do I get it? And they don't understand that, if you buy an antenna and you have a smart TV, you're going to get about 400 channels if you're smart.
Well, I mean, that's even like me. Like I've gone to Menards or Home Depot and I've bought those antennas for, what are they, $50, $60, but like I've tried doing that and I get 0 channels.
Yeah. And I think that's because the antenna that they're broadcasting out of is a weak antenna. So it doesn't get to the outskirts of Chicago. I'm literally I'm about 8 to 10 blocks from downtown. I'm not that far. I'm sorry, 3 miles. 3 miles from downtown, 8 blocks from the United Center.
I'm less than a mile from O'Hare. I mean, I'm out of the city, but I'm not that far out of the city. Like it's not like I live, like my place in Fox Lake that I have. Yeah, sure. Like I can understand like not getting much up there.
Yeah.
But like even here, like I've bought antennas and tried to hook them up, and it's like you get nothing in return. And then I'm like, well, screw this. I'm gonna take this antenna back. That was $50 wasted, like.
Yeah, definitely. So it's been hard, especially if you're a person that goes to a bar to go watch these games, and it's like, well, like, we don't have it. Because those bars are all either on cable, they're on satellite, or they're on streaming service, so they don't have over-the-air antenna because it's not reliable. So yeah, that's going to be a hard thing. And I just, like you said, it is greed, and it's sad. But at the same time, it's like all we're seeing is the same thing, the same product with the Bulls. So how much are you missing? I mean, I was excited basketball was back, but at the same time, I know what this team is. I know what this team is going to be in February. It's going to be another rebuild team in February after the trade deadline. So
Well, and that's the thing is like I was just looking at the starting lineup for tonight for the Bulls,
Yeah.
and it's like they got Patrick Williams starting, and it's like, why wouldn't you start Buzelis?
No, they're not starting Buzelis. Patrick Williams got paid. He's getting the start.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like we already know
key.
what Pat Williams is. Like he's streaky at best, and I understand we paid him. We shouldn't have.
Right.
I've said many of times like maybe they see something in practice that I don't see on the court, but
I don't think he has that
on the court is where it
mentality.
matters.
Yeah, he doesn't have that dog mentality. He wants to stay out in the perimeter, and I'm like, no, dude, you're big enough. I need you in the trenches. I need you grabbing 10 to 12 rebounds, and I need you dunking on people. That's what I need from you. I don't need another outside shooter. I don't.
We were talking like was it last week or 2 weeks ago? And I brought up that Ndamukong Suh mentality. Like I need you to have that Noah mentality. The listen, I'm down here to do a job. Like that ball's up in the air, it's mine. I'm gonna go get it. And that's easy for me to say. I'm a short white guy. Whatever. But it's just one of those. Like I said, you have players. You look at Kobe, you look at Tom Brady, you look at Michael Jordan, you look at some of these players. Dennis Rodman, he wasn't the best offensive player, but my God, I mean that guy was a nuisance on defense.
He had a motor. Yeah.
But it was a mentality. It was a like I'm here to mess up your day. It was just like I said, and you sit here and watch this Bulls team. And we've talked about it. There's no alpha on the team. It's a bunch of betas. Levine wants to be the alpha, but he ain't. Kawhi or when Leonard was or
DeRozan.
DeRozan. I was hoping he would step up and be the alpha, but he kind of like tried to shy away and let Levine.
That was that first year. Levine didn't want to take it, so he's like, "Screw it, I'll do it, and I'll be king of the force." And he became the alpha, and Levine got butthurt about it. And it's like, you got to be the alpha every night. You can't do it when you want to do it. You can't be the streaky player that scores 5 or 6 threes in the first half and then has 5 or 6 points in the second half in total. We need you consistently being the alpha all 4 quarters, and he can't do that. He just can't do that.
Well, and the other thing I've brought up is, we really, and again, I haven't watched Giddy. I know we're very early in the season, but the one thing I have said for the past couple of years is that with Ball being down, we haven't had a true point guard.
And Giddy's a true point guard, and Giddy has been doing very well. He plays well in Billy Donovan's offense, and he's going to be good.
Yeah, but I remember we had this conversation, during the off season and late last year, when the Bulls were not doing so well, and I basically said like we have not had a good point guard since Derrick Rose. We've had guys filling in that get injured. That we had Nate Washington. We had different. We had. Who's the guy from Boston?
Rondo.
Like I said, we've had different guys fill in, but it's like they're past their prime. They're, like I said, it's
Well, that whole experiment with Dwayne Wade and Rondo and Jimmy Butler, that was just a disaster of too many divas on one team.
Which to me, like getting rid of Butler, I mean, he was such a good player.
Yeah, but he's a shell.
He had that dog mentality. He
Yeah, but again, he has to have an alpha coach though. He doesn't respect a lot of coaches. He'll play under Tibbs. He played under Tibbs for a little bit, and then he got sick of that in Minnesota. So I don't know what he's up to right now because I did make a place a bet, a parlay, and a shout out to Serge who gave me this parlay. It was 17 out of 18 legs hit. And the one that screwed us was Jimmy because we had him for 15 points and he had 3. He didn't show up that whole game. He just wasn't interested. So it is what it is. If you're into the Bulls, that's phenomenal. I will watch occasionally. I'll peep my head out.
What are you doing making a 17-leg parlay. My God.
Hey man, he was one leg from hitting, and it would have been a
Exactly. Could you imagine if you made it a 10-leg parlay? You still would have probably walked away with a heck of a lot of money.
Yeah. And then Serge sent me another one that would have been a year's salary worth it. We missed it by like 2 or 3 legs. It was a lottery ticket. He prefaced it with saying, if this is a lottery ticket, don't place money on it. I'd sprinkled a little bit, and that little bit would have been a year's worth of my salary. So if that would have hit, that would have been great.
I'll take a year's salary on a $10 bet. I mean,
exactly what it was. Let's switch over to the White Sox. Excuse me. There's a little bit of news on there.
Is there really?
I mean, the World Series going on. So the World Series, baseball doesn't allow teams to make any noise while the World Series is going on. Chris Getz is looking and busy interviewing. He's interviewing 11 candidates. He was interested in 11 candidates. Cardinals bench coach Daniel Descalso, Rangers bench coach Donnie Ecker, Padres special assistant AJ Ellis, who bowed out, Dodgers bench coach Danny Lehman, Tigers bench coach George Lombard, Dodgers first base coach Clayton McCullough, former Angels manager Phil Nevin, and Orioles and Rangers. That's a no. He's horrible. Diamondbacks, Yankees, and Mets manager Buck Showalter. That's a no. Don't do that. Marlins manager Skip Schumacher, who I think they're going to hire. He won manager of the year 2 years ago, and then this year he sucked with the Marlins. Obviously, the Marlins traded a lot of their talent away, but they were just as bad as not as bad as the White Sox, but pretty bad. And then Rangers,
they're not really known to be the best franchise.
Exactly. And then Rangers associate manager Will Venable, who I really, really like. McCullough, who is 2 wins away because he's on the Dodgers. He says he's no longer in the running. This is according to ESPN. Venable and Nevin are regarded as strong candidates. This is assuming that Schumacher's waiting for a better offer. So Schumacher's waiting for something better to come along. If not, he'd probably say yes to the White Sox, and the White Sox will probably sign him. It's bad.
I think honestly, like if I were the White Sox, I'd be looking for somebody young, somebody maybe not that proven on like a good organization. Like I think you mentioned somebody on the Dodgers, somebody on the Tigers, like I said, I know you said like one was a first base coach, one was, but
a bench coach. Yeah, a lot of bench coaches, which is what you would want because that's the person that sits next to the manager and puts a lot of the game plan together.
But like I said, I think I would look for somebody young, hungry, that can, hopefully, again, you know that they're going to get tossed to the wayside in 3 or 4 years because the talent's not there. So they're going to have horrible record. So 3 years from now, 4 years from now, this person is going to be tossed out in the trash because they have a horrible record because, frankly, your roster is horrible. But, like I said, I would definitely give somebody young on a good organization the opportunity that they can put something together and surprise you.
The reason I like Will Venable because he's 41. That's young for a manager. He's been sitting with Bruce Bochy. The Rangers won a World Series.
Yep, Rangers are a great organization.
Right, they won a World Series. He's been sitting next to Bruce Bochy, and he's supposed to be the heir apparent. But if he can get his own team while Bruce Bochy is still coaching, maybe he'll jump. Maybe he had some interviews last year and didn't jump. I would really throw money at him.
If you're the heir apparent for a good organization like them,
yeah,
I guess you kind of have to look at like how much longer is this guy staying?
Yeah.
Because like I said, it would be like, do I really want to jump ship and then go tarnish my name with a bad organization, with a bad roster, with, not much of, you guys have a decent like farm system.
Our system it's really good, especially on the pitching side, not so much on the hitting side, which is just.
But that's the situation where it's like you're looking 3-4 years down the road, unless like you really go out and spend on free agents, which the Sox have kind of said they don't want to do.
Yep. They're not going to spend on free agents. We know that. Just like the Bulls won't spend big on free agents. It's I don't know what it is. Don't know what it is. Don't know what it is.
Ownership.
Yeah, the way they treat their players. Essentially, that it's the way they treat their players. So until that, we did a whole last episode. If you want to check that out, me and Ivan went over
again. I can't talk too much trash because the Sox have won World Series, in this millennia where, where they did pay Burley and all those guys when it was happening, So I think personally, and Reinsdorf, as you have said, has come out and said, hey, we're willing to sell the team and, maybe somebody.
I think that's all BS right now. That's just to get your name in the news and be all scared. And then MLB came out saying Chicago is a major market and they're one of the most, one of the original teams and a big franchise. They're not going to move to Nashville. And if they do sell the team,
I was going to say personally, if I were me and I could move to my own city and have my own fan base and not have it split between north side and south side.
But I mean,
and again, but I don't know that the White Sox are that team.
No,
like there's plenty of teams in Florida that can, there's plenty of teams in Houston. There's, like I said, there's other areas where a baseball team, can definitely be moved from one area to another. The White Sox are definitely going to be a hard sale moving. Do I think, again, for a business standpoint, would it make sense to move them to somewhere where they're going to have a fan base, where it's again, you could have Tennessee, parts of Kentucky, all being a fan of that team. I mean, it does make sense a little bit, but I don't think Chicago's the White Sox are the right team for that.
No, and then MLB already said there's going to be expansion pretty soon. I think it's 2027 or 2029. I can't remember which year it was, and they're looking at two locations. Salt Lake City and Nashville are the two hot spots that they're looking at. Obviously, Nashville would be one to get one. The other one, we don't know yet. I think they talked about Louisville at one point, and now it's Nashville because Nashville is growing so exponentially. Yeah. It just makes sense. Another team, another Texas team would be in the mix. Maybe Austin getting a team.
But again, how many? I'm against. There should be a limit on how many teams in a state.
It's a huge state, man. It's a huge state.
I trust me. I've been to Texas and drove all through Texas when I was doing my traveling for my job.
Yeah.
I've flown into Dallas and had to drive to San Antonio and then back and work my way back
in a mix as well.
And like I said, it's not a fun drive when it's 4 hours from one city to another, and then you're driving past Austin. I wish I could stop for barbecue, but I have to keep going.
Yeah. In New Orleans would be another team. I don't know if that's a viable situation with the weather that they get there. So expansion is going to happen. It's going to be two teams. We also basketball is going to have an expansion as well. So it's exciting time for sports, and especially if you're one of those cities that's growing, you deserve to have another team.
Vegas is the Athletics.
Yeah, and that's not even a done deal, which is crazy. They already got they got renderings, they got the location, but it's not a done deal yet. It's going to happen. There's no way it's not going to happen with that team going to be playing.
You think about Portland. Portland doesn't have a baseball.
Portland would be another viable situation that they need a team.
I mean, even putting a baseball team back in Canada, something like that.
But revive the Expos.
Vancouver, you get Toronto,
Toronto's got a team. They got the Blue Jays, but Montreal would be. I think there'd be interest there, and but would it be just again like another Tampa where they average 8,000 to 10,000 fans, and it's then what's the point? That's the reason.
I guess Well, and I don't know that Montreal has baseball fields that you could kind of do like the NFL and kind of, see how it goes and see what the interest is.
Why not Buffalo? Why not Buffalo? They have crazy fans. They love the Sabres. They love their Bills. I think they would love a baseball team.
Yeah. I mean, I've visited Buffalo, and I will tell you, like, Buffalo's one of those cities where, like, I drove through and I was like, man, like, I was expecting a little bigger town than what Buffalo was.
Okay.
Like, even Minneapolis, Minnesota, like,
I've been up there.
you go to their downtown and you're kind of like, and again, we're from Chicago. We're a little, we're a little bigger city than
your
most.
downtown. Come on.
Yeah, like this is a Schaumburg. This is a, like this is Minneapolis. Like,
yeah.
There's
taller buildings in Niles, Illinois.
There are. Like I said, it's that weird situation where, like, yeah, you're like Rosemont. Like, Rosemont is like, to me, is a bigger, with all the hotels and the convention centers and, right there by the airport and everything else, like in the casino. And like, I look at Rosemont and it's like, that was almost like a Minneapolis, because we have the women's baseball field there. We have, the outlet mall there, in Rosemont. Like, Rosemont to me, like, Montreal, I will say Montreal is a big city.
Yeah.
Montreal definitely, like, if there was interest, I think could definitely support a baseball team. But like I said, you look at Buffalo and it's kind of like, and don't get me wrong, I know their fans are crazy and would go nuts.
Yeah.
But like, you just look at like the city itself and you're just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, but everybody comes from outside or that surrounding Buffalo area.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing is, like, when you have these minor league teams like the Fort Wayne Tin Cans or the whatever, like, weird name, they have a fan base and they're averaging 6 to 8 or 10,000 people. That's enough interest to have a team. If you continuously have that kind of interest, the Charlotte Knights or the Iowa Cubs or whatever it may be, if you have that interest and there's a lot of people showing up.
Well, the other crazy thing to me is, like the Savannah Bananas, you look at that situation that they're playing all these major league baseball parks.
Yep.
I mean, could you imagine if they put another 2 or 3 teams together and actually made a league of it?
I mean, I think that's the end point, that they're going to have their own league. I mean, they are coming next year to the guaranteed rate in August. And I already put my name in for the lottery, because you can put your name in for the lottery for tickets. I'm down.
I didn't do that, but I would go to the game for sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have a couple. I have a friend or an acquaintance now that lives in Savannah, Georgia, and has been able to go to a game or two, and I know they love it and they enjoy it. It's an interesting concept where you have a promoter, a person who owns, I don't know what you qualify it as a organization, as a, whatever. But I mean, they are, I mean, they got a crowd going. They have a following.
It's engaging.
Yes.
It's fast paced. It's engaging. You're part of the game.
There's
Because
new rules.
Fly out, it counts.
Yep.
And they come out, they're creative, they're doing dances, and even the umpires are into it. So it's a new spin on baseball.
It's the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball.
I was literally going to say that.
But they still put on a decent product. And it's one of those where it's like the Globetrotters don't always win.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, like, to me that would be interesting. Like, if that particular organization, you had, the Savannah Bananas and whoever the other team is, but then you have another one in, say, like you said, New Orleans, and then you have another one in Gainesville, Alabama, like where those small little markets where there's 4 or 5 cities in that southern
Yeah, and
States,
and again, they are getting either just retired players that you know they're good enough to play because it's still baseball where they're pitching very well at a high level. I would say they're at an A level, maybe double A level.
Yeah.
But they're bringing in like John Cena. They're bringing in all these different type of all-stars from all different walks of life. It's fun. It's literally the XFL version of baseball.
Yeah, I forgot who it was, but it was like somebody that had played baseball their whole life, but then they became like an NFL player, but like they gave them an at bat, or I forgot what the situation was. But yeah, I mean, you have a celebrity guest like every game, or like they're the manager of the team for the night, or
Yeah.
I mean, like you make it interesting. You find a way to make things fun. And unfortunately, you have the NFL, the not fun league, and MLB with all their, uppity, you can't toss the bat, you can't celebrate, you can't do this. I'm going to throw at you. And, like the MLB needs to lighten up a little bit.
It does. It does. Hey, juice the balls. Juice the balls. Everyone loves the long ball.
Yes, everybody likes the long ball, but at the same time, like, I mean, the pitching has gotten so much better over the past couple of years.
Yep.
With all the tracking and all this other stuff,
Yeah,
spin rate, all this other stuff, to where it's like, okay, if you're gonna juice the ball, then give me the sticky tack stuff.
Yeah, 100% give them the sticky tack. Yeah,
but it like the MLB should have a product that is supplied. You know what I mean? Like, look, we're not against it, but this is the one and only product you can use.
right.
Like the whole
Well, the mud that they put in on top of the balls, they mud the balls. It comes from this one section. I forgot where it was, I think it's in Louisiana or somewhere, Alabama or Missouri. They get the mud from there, and that's the only mud they can mud the balls with so that they're not so slick. Same thing. You supply the rosin. Just give them the sticky stuff.
And that's what I was going to talk about is our former love of the pitcher from Mexico that we talk about every week.
Trevor
Bauer has shown like, hey, I can wipe my sweat and use rosin, and I can create attacking substance.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if the MLB says, hey, we are going to supply the rosin and supply whatever, sweat, water, whatever, you have to make the substance before the game. It will be then inspected by the umpires, and this is the only substance you're allowed to use once the game starts. However, then you also get into the how do you know they're not using a more sticky substance than
that will be just to be like, here's a jar of sticky stuff. Here you go. Don't mess with it. This is all you can use. You get 1 jar per game. However you use it, whatever. That's good.
Yeah. But at the same time, that takes away from the offensive, home runs and hits.
You can still juice the ball. You can still juice the ball to make it even. I wanted to make it as exciting as possible without going to the steroids thing. I'm not going to go.
But again, like if you give the pitchers the advantage, I think the pitchers are going to win 20% more than somebody who just gets a juiced ball. You know what I mean? That's my theory on it, and you would have to
find out. Yeah.
And that's, take it to the minor leagues and see what happens there first, you know, but
that and the robot umpires. Come on, let's go. These umpires, this crew that's playing, that's hosting right now with the MLB, the World Series, it is like the worst crew percentage wise of how their stats. It's insane how many missed calls they've had. And it's 3-0 New York right now. So, I mean, 3-0 Dodgers. So New York, hope they lose. All right, JC, I think we're good here. We're at our usual time, 1 hour and 29 minutes, our 90-minute show. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for jumping on and not making this podcast as boring as people just listening to me, man.
Not home. Like I said, I was like at dinner and was like, Oh man, he's by himself, and I was like, oh, all right, let me go power it up.
Yeah, and I told Ivan to come on because he just finished his show, and I didn't send him the invite till like 20 minutes later. So I understand why Ivan couldn't join on, but it was less profanity though.
I didn't listen to last week's, unfortunately.
It was a great show. Really was a great
yeah.
show. It's just too much profanity because Ivan gets super excited when he talks about the Bears and the Bulls and all that and how they suck. But it was a great time. But thanks again, JC, for joining us, and we'll come back next week with more sports. We'll talk about the Bears in Arizona and everything else that's happening on in Chicago sports. All right. Thank you, everybody. That is it for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you to our listeners for sticking with us for 218 episodes. Thank you to our sponsors, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, and Grit Clothing Company. You know what to do at Grit Clothing Company. Get your shirts now. Again, if you got a question, a topic, or something you want to argue about, hit us up at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. 606media.com is live if you want to watch our previous podcast. I got some highlights on there with our Carlos Zambrano, just the audio version right now. Martin Moreno and Hooter, who were on our show about a year and a half ago. That show's on there. I am going to see Martin and Hooter this Thursday as well. So I'll see if I can get a soundbite or a nice video to put it on the podcast. So I love seeing them because they're funny as hell. All right, JC, thanks for coming on. And for JC, I'm Big Z, and we'll see you next time for episode 219. And until then, be good to each other for the love of sports.